All right, guys, this is the last video, the 21st in our series on Construct 3, where we are going to take our now completed game and export a finished copy of it that you can have on your computer and play, or theoretically, even sell. I don't think that any of you are going to be in a position with what you've built for this class to be ready to sell. You probably are going to need more than 2 levels and 2 enemies. So yeah, I think that with what we've built here, the way that this the systems that we've built, the events that we've put in here, and the fact that we've managed to save ourselves 16 more events, I think you could probably build a pretty convincing extended game out of just what we have here. Attacking and jumping, falling out of the map, getting killed by enemies, and then with the remaining events, you could add a couple more mechanics or have some more interesting enemies that will actually attack you, or some bosses that have projectiles or something like that. Regardless, I want to point out that even though we are able to put together a complete game here, we can't actually sell it. We're not allowed to at the moment. So most game engines, Unity, Unreal Engine, and of course Construct here, they, well, they have to get paid somehow. And the way that they get paid is that when you sell your game, they get their money. Some of them have licenses where you have to report what you've earned and then pay a percentage. But most companies find that it's easier just to charge you for a license to use their software, because you're shipping Construct's software as part of your game. So what they have here, this is you can get a license for $16.50 a month or $99 per year. And they have down here a comparison of what you get with a paid version of it. So right here, maximum events with the free edition, 25, or if you register, 50, right? 2 layers, 2 special effects. We didn't even get into that. We just used the particle system. We can't do multiplayer games unless you go to the a paid edition. Custom loading screens. You could burn a layout to do a custom loading screen. Well, not really, not a loading screen. That's a different thing. Here's where it gets interesting, the monetization. You cannot make money from your game if you do not buy the personal license. You can't include advertising. You can't include in-app purchases. None of that stuff is supported. And if they find you trying to sell your game, they will come after you, and they will take way more than the $16 that you could have paid to be allowed to sell this thing in the first place. And as long as you, if you're thinking about building your game out and selling it, you may as well go for the personal edition here, where you get to have more events, you can build a much more complex game. Keep in mind, more complex is not necessarily better. A lot of times, figuring out how to get the most out of the mechanics that you have built into your game is actually going to get you a much more interesting and cohesive gameplay experience that your clients, your customers rather, are going to like, rather than just having a billion different things that they have to figure out how to do. So your game is done, at least as far as the class is concerned. If you want to take it farther, you can keep those other things in mind. So for us, what I need for you to turn in is the finished game. So we're going to go up here to menu. We're going to go to the project and export. Notice over here, as far as being able to export when you get to the publishing, this is not going to let us right now, because we're in the free version, export to Android or iOS, to Xbox, to Windows, all this kind of stuff. Those things are going to be not available to us, even though they're shown here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do the HTML5 version. So click on that, go to next. I've already been through here. Deduplicate images, you can see what this is that if you've uploaded, for example, artwork for your background or for the flags or a zombie or something like that, if that artwork exactly the same appears in more than one game object over here, then it's going to eliminate that so it just doesn't have extras of the exact same thing. It'll still show up in all the right places. It'll connect that back in. So you don't have to worry about that. This is generally a good thing to do. Do always test your game. Make sure it plays before you try to sell it to people. People are mad if it doesn't work when they get it. Recompress images. A lot of times, like this flag maybe is made out of a color palette that allows for 6,000 colors or whatever. And it only uses like 8 colors. So maybe you could get away with fewer colors. If you recompress the images, it's gonna take less data to have all of your images. In this case, I'm going to leave this not compressed. This is pretty simple pictures already. The whole game is really small. I'm not worried about the size of it. If you were selling this on iOS, there is a very big problem for games that go over a certain amount of data size. People will not download it if it says that you have to be on a Wi-Fi connection and not just out roaming on data to be able to download the game. And that is an iOS store restriction. You can't. It won't let you download over data if your game is too big. So recompressing your images might be a good thing in a situation like that. So this one for our game probably doesn't matter either way. If you recompress the images, you might get some interesting color changes. They'll be extremely subtle, and you would have to really be finicky to notice the difference, I think. So I'm just going to hit next, and it's going to do its thing. Export is finished. Download. Mine is called Test Run Marquit Game because that's what I named this thing after Matthew Marquit's tutorial series that I started this in. So yeah, it's going to be named whatever your project is named. And but if you want, you can change the name of it here. If you wanted this to have a different name, which I think I do actually, so I'm not going to click the download right now. Let's do this again. I'm going to right-click and rename this. I'm going to rename it Swamp Adventure. So now my game has its proper name. Let's just save that. And we'll export this one more time. Export HTML. Next. Same settings. It's quick because my game is small. Download swampadventure.zip. This is what you guys are going to turn into me for the class. Click on that, and it's going to say save the file. Definitely save it onto your Chromebook, onto your computer, whatever you're working on. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to hide this off the edge of the screen here so you guys can't see where all my folders are and stuff. Let's see. That's fine right there. So I'm going to save that. That is saved. So I'm done with this screen. I hit OK.